Welcome to World News America. I'm Carl Nassman. U.S. President Joe Biden delivered a spirited address at his first campaign rally since Thursday's faltering debate performance, a showing that reportedly left many in the Democratic Party questioning his fitness for the presidential nomination. On Friday, the president looked like a completely different candidate, speaking energetically to a cheering crowd in North Carolina. Biden acknowledged the debate during his speech there and rally, calling his rival, former President Donald Trump, a genuine threat to democracy. He also responded to concerns over his age, saying that although he's not a young man, he's still capable of doing the job. Well, Joe Biden's performance in that debate has reportedly prompted discussion within the Democratic Party over whether it should nominate a different candidate altogether. That path would be unprecedented, and it would be logistically challenging unless the president himself were to withdraw. But former President Barack Obama defended Biden, saying, quote, "Bad debate nights happen. Trust me, I know. But this election is still a choice between someone who's fought for ordinary folks his entire life and someone who only cares about himself." Other Democratic lawmakers also stood by Biden, including former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, as well as California Representative Robert Garcia.
How do you think he did?
Compared to a person who was lying the whole time, we saw integrity on one side and dishonesty on the other. That's how I saw it.
You don't think you'd be better off with a better candidate?
Absolutely not. There's one person in this country that has defeated Donald Trump, and his name is Joe Biden. So the one person that can beat Donald Trump again is a person that already beat him.
Speaking to the BBC after the debate, Democratic National Committee Chairman Jamie Harrison came to Biden's defense despite calls for him to step aside. And as former President Trump looks for a post-debate boost, I spoke with one of his former chiefs of staff, Mick Mulvaney, about where the race stands now. It's a pleasure to have you here with us on BBC News. A celebratory mood, I'm assuming, in the Trump camp. What was your reaction to what you saw in that debate? And do you think that this could be, as the Donald Trump campaign is hoping, a potential turning point here in the election?
Well, a couple different questions there. My immediate reaction last night was actually depression. I was saddened by what I saw. It was hard to watch. And I'm not the only person in this country who has someone with limited capacity as they get older. My mother has dementia in my family. And to see what Joe Biden was going through last night was really, really very difficult. From a political standpoint, it's a huge win for the Republicans. There's no question. It's a crushing loss. I was just reading before we were chatting here on the air, some of the commentary on some of the Democrat websites, and they're describing it in one place. I think I saw it as a Titanic-level disaster. It's historic. It really is. I was talking with folks immediately after the debate last night, and we all agreed, and some of us, I've been in the business about 15 or 20 years. Other folks have been in it twice as long. We've never seen anything like this. And are unlikely to again. It was just an earthquake of an event.
Well, let me just ask you, because we did hear from the president today. He had appeared at a rally. His voice sounded stronger. He appeared much more confident than he did during the debate. Is there a chance, you think, that the Trump camp could be a bit overconfident here, that this could end up being a blip on the radar? There is still plenty of time to go until the November election.
Yeah, there is plenty of time. There's no question. But keep in mind, what was last night? Last night was the Super Bowl, right? Last night, I've not seen the final ratings yet, and I don't think we'll have them for a couple of days, but it was a huge number of eyeballs on that television screen, on those television screens last night. What does that mean? That means that people who don't usually follow politics were watching last night. And it doesn't make any difference what Joe Biden did today. They know what they saw last night. We all know what they saw last night. Is it possible to crawl out of that hole? Yes, if last night really was a one-off. But if last night was simply the next in a series of situations where Joe Biden has been readily, obviously not up to the job, then it's hard to imagine how he does turn things around after last night. No, look, undecided voters are undecided for a reason. They don't pay attention. They probably were paying attention last night based upon the ratings that we're seeing on an early basis. They probably won't tune in again until the next debate, if there is another one. And if I'm Donald Trump, there's no way I'm debating again.
Let's talk about this debate and Donald Trump specifically. You're someone who obviously knows Donald Trump very well. How concerned are you that when it came to the actual debate about policy, Mr. Trump, according to our fact checkers and pretty much every other one, said there were scores of misleading, factually incorrect statements. He claimed President Biden receives money from China. He said that blue states allow abortions in the 8th or 9th month. He even said that Mr. Biden encouraged Russia to attack Ukraine. How concerned are you about those kinds of falsehoods? Again, this has been something we've seen in the past by Donald Trump.
Last night wasn't about policy. We all know where these two gentlemen stand on policy. Again, this is the only time in our lifetimes we've had a debate between two presidents. In fact, I think it's only the second time in history that two presidents have run against each other. We all know what the policies are. Last night was about personality. The bar for Donald Trump was, could he look at least somewhat presidential? Keep in mind how poorly he did in the first debate against Joe Biden back in 2020, most likely cost him the election. So the bar was very low for him, and he succeeded at it. It was as reserved
Let
as
me
I
just
have
follow
ever
up there,
seen.
though, because one of those policies seems to be a very key issue here in this election that has to do with January 6th. That seemed to be a question that multiple times Mr. Trump avoided answering.
Is that a policy, or is taxes a policy? Is abortion a policy? Is immigration a policy?
Well, it's certainly an issue that many voters and certainly Donald Trump and Mr. Biden have been talking about repeatedly.
Yeah, and let me be clear. I'm not seeking to diminish January 6th. But my guess is that most voters who have made up their mind on January 6th. Either it is important to them and is determinative to them, or it is not. There was nothing that was going to change last night about January 6th. It was about how did Trump look and how did Biden look? How did Trump make people feel and how did Biden make people feel? And you cannot but admit that Joe Biden, people turned off that TV last night really, really worried about Joe Biden. I'm not diminishing any of the policies, not diminishing any of the other aspects of it. But last night was not about policy. Last night was about emotion and appearance and feeling, and Joe Biden failed miserably.
Before I let you go, where do you think this leaves the race now, and how do you think Donald Trump will treat the next few months of this campaign?
The same as he would have otherwise. I think he will move forward with a great deal more confidence. Of course, Donald Trump has plenty of confidence to begin with. But how could you not feel good about your performance vis-a-vis Joe Biden last night? There needs to, I think you might hear Trump start having more open debate about whether or not only is Joe Biden capable of running in 2024, is he capable of doing the job now? If Donald Trump had that type of performance in 2019, your publication, most publications, would be clamoring for the 25th Amendment. That was an embarrassment last night, and clearly someone with limited mental capacity, at least temporarily, perhaps. But I expect you to continue to see Donald Trump pound on that issue because it's a winning issue. Listen, added to this, it used to be about immigration, inflation, and Israel. Now it used to be the three I's. Now this election is about the four I's: immigration, inflation, Israel, and incapacity. And you expect Donald Trump to continue to press on all four of those.
Well, as it often does, foreign policy played a big role last night. The outcome of November's election will have major implications for ongoing conflicts in Ukraine and in Gaza. Our correspondents in Moscow, Kiev, and Jerusalem have been monitoring reactions around the world. Let's hear first from our Russia editor, Steve Rosenberg. Well, at that rally in Virginia, Donald Trump said people arrested over the January 6th, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol should be freed immediately. It comes as the Supreme Court handed down a major decision on Friday, ruling in favor of one of the rioters. The decision will make it more difficult to charge Capitol riot defendants with obstruction. The 6-3 ruling narrows the interpretation of a law which outlines criminal penalties for anyone charged with obstructing an official proceeding. Justices in the majority say that the charges must include proof the defendants tried to tamper with or destroy official documents. The ruling has implications for more than 350 people who are facing obstruction charges in relation to the insurrection. And 2 of the 4 charges former President Donald Trump faces are based on that obstruction statute, as our correspondent Neda Taufik explains. Yeah, more on that election on our website, bbc.com/news. Before we go, 2 giant pandas have arrived safely at their new homes at the San Diego Zoo. The pandas, 3-year-old female named Xinbao and the 4-year-old male Yun Chuan, began their journey from southwestern China on Wednesday. They'll be monitored by wildlife experts to determine when the pair are ready for their public debut. And of course, they will be monitored by plenty of fans at the zoo as well. I'm Carl Nassman in Washington. Thank you for watching World News America.